You can spend your entire life doing everything right, working hard, saving money, trying to be responsible, and still feel like you're not getting ahead, not because you failed, but because no one ever taught you how money really works. Morgan Housel, the author of The Psychology of Money, once said that doing well with money has very little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave, and that idea alone changes everything. Because most people are not losing the game of money due to lack of knowledge. They're losing because of habits, emotions, and the way they react under pressure. We grow up believing that if we learn enough, if we understand the system, if we make the right decisions, we will eventually succeed. But real life doesn't work like that. Two people can have the same education, the same opportunities, even the same income, and still end up in completely different financial situations. And the reason is simple. Money is not a math problem, it's a behavior problem. We like to think we are rational creatures, especially when it comes to something as important as money. We tell ourselves that we analyze, that we calculate, that we make decisions based on logic. But the truth is, most of our financial decisions are driven by emotions we barely notice. Fear, insecurity, ego, the need to belong, the desire to impress. People don't just spend money because they need something, they spend because of how they feel. They invest when they feel confident, and they panic when the market goes down. They compare their lives to others and make decisions not based on what they truly want, but based on what they think they should want. And this is where everything starts to fall apart. Because when your financial life is driven by emotion, consistency becomes almost impossible. You save for a while, then something happens, and you stop. You invest, then doubt appears, and you pull everything out. You make progress, but your own behavior pulls you back. And over time, this creates a cycle that keeps people stuck for years, not because they don't earn enough, but because they can't stay consistent long enough. And this leads to one of the most misunderstood ideas about money, the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Most people think these two things are the same, but they are not even close. Being rich is what people see. It's the car, the watch, the lifestyle, the visible signs of success. But wealth is what you don't see. Wealth is the money that hasn't been spent. It's the investments quietly growing in the background. It's the ability to wake up and not be controlled by financial pressure. And here's the problem. In a world where everyone is trying to look successful, very few people are actually building real wealth, because looking rich requires spending money, but becoming wealthy requires not spending it, and that's a very uncomfortable trade-off. It means saying no when others say yes. It means being patient. In a world that rewards speed, it means thinking long-term, while everything around you pushes for instant results. And this is where most people fail. Not because they don't understand, but because they don't have the patience to wait. We live in a time where everything happens fast. Information is instant. Results are expected immediately, and this creates the illusion that success should also be fast. But real wealth doesn't follow that rule. It grows slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. At first, it doesn't look like anything is happening. Days go by, months go by, sometimes even years, with very little visible progress. And this is the moment where most people give up, because they mistake slow progress for no progress. But what they don't see is that time is doing its work in the background, compounding small actions, turning discipline into results, building something that cannot be rushed. And this is why patience is more powerful than talent, because talent might give you a fast start, but patience is what keeps you in the game long enough to actually win. And the truth is, most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they quit too soon. They expect results too quickly. They underestimate how long things take and overestimate what can happen in a short period of time. But if there's one thing that Morgan Housel teaches better than anyone, it's this. Success is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about avoiding the mistakes that take you out of the game. Because once you're out, nothing else matters. And the longer you can stay consistent, the more time starts to work in your favor. But there's another side to this story. one that most people don't like to talk about, and it has nothing to do with effort, nothing to do with intelligence, and nothing to do with discipline. It has to do with something much more uncomfortable, something that quiet. In the first part, we talked about something most people never realize, that money is not just about intelligence, it's about behavior. But now we're going deeper into something even more uncomfortable, because if behavior explains part of the story, there is another force that silently shapes every outcome in life, and that force is luck. We like to believe that success is predictable, that if you work hard enough, make the right decisions, and stay disciplined, you will eventually get what you deserve. And while that sounds fair, reality is far more complex. Because two people can do everything right and still end up in completely different places. One succeeds, the other struggles. Not because one is better, but because life doesn't operate on perfect rules. Luck plays a bigger role than we are comfortable admitting. Being born in the right environment, having access to the right opportunities, meeting the right people at the right time. These moments can completely change the direction of a life, and the hardest part is, we often don't even notice them. We look at successful people and assume their results are entirely earned. But we rarely see the invisible advantages, the timing, the context, the randomness behind their journey. And if luck plays a role in success, then risk plays a role in failure, which means not every failure is deserved either. This changes how we should see the world. It should make us more humble when we win, and more understanding when others lose. Because no matter how smart or prepared you are, there will always be things outside of your control, and that leads to one of the most important lessons of all. The biggest risk in life is the one you don't see coming. Most people spend their time trying to maximize returns, trying to get ahead faster, trying to win as much as possible. But they ignore the one thing that can destroy everything overnight: uncertainty, unexpected events, economic crises, job loss, health issues. These things don't send warnings, they don't ask for permission, they just happen. And when they do, they don't care how smart you are or how confident you felt the day before. This is why truly successful people don't just focus on growth, they focus on survival. Because if you lose everything once, it becomes much harder to recover. But if you can survive, if you can stay in the game, you give yourself time, and time is where everything starts to work in your favor. Time allows your decisions to compound. Time allows your mistakes to fade. Time allows opportunities to appear, but only if you're still there, only if you didn't take a risk that was too big or ignore a danger that was too obvious. This is why preparation matters more than prediction. You don't need to know exactly what will happen in the future, you just need to be ready for the fact that something will. And once you understand this, your mindset begins to change. You stop chasing perfection. You stop trying to control everything. And instead, you start focusing on what actually matters: consistency, patience, humility. At the end of the day, being rich is not about how much money you make. It's about how you behave when things are going well and how you react when things fall apart. Because anyone can look smart in good times, but real wisdom shows up when things don't go as planned. And if there's one thing you should take from all of this, it's this: you don't need to be perfect to succeed. You just need to avoid the mistakes that take you out of the game. Stay consistent, stay patient, stay humble, and over time, that becomes your greatest advantage.